Well, hello everyone. It's your girl Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. So, I have been doing this for a while now. I think um I keep saying I and we. I keep confusing the pronouns, but let's just say we, because we are a collective unit. Um, so we have been doing these episodes for it's been over 80 episodes. So that is a big accomplishment. That is a big feat. And I am so proud of us. We have accomplished this great thing and we have come this far. Let's just keep it going. So, for those of you who are new to the game, you're new to the show, this is a web series where we like to talk about things in education, employment, health, family, finances, or anything else that is steamy. So, we like to have those conversations that we talk about with our friends, we talk about with our families, our coworkers, our doctors, our lawyers. We like to have those conversations and we want to put it all out in the open. So we like to take these things that we like to keep within our little cliques and we want to put it all out there. We want to expose it all, right? And we here at Hot Topics believe in full exposure because we like to use this show as an educational tool and an informational tool. So, all of this is to educate you. And today I am excited because not only do we have a returning guest, but we also have a returning topic, sort of. So, we actually have another virtual book reading, and I'm excited and to do this again. And we're going to do another reading. We're going to have a little book club. So, I'm very much looking forward to this. And, let's get right into it. So, our returning guest is Dr. Dawn Menge. She is like the queen of children's books, and she has honored us with her presence by reading another one of her books today live on air. So let's get right to it. I will not keep you any further. So I got to get past my little intro. So let's do this. Who is Dr. Dawn Menge? I'm going to remind you who she is. So Dr. Dawn Menge has won 70 international awards as the published author of the Queen Vernita's educational series and Dragon's Breath, including the Special Recognition Champion Award from Conquering Disabilities with Film, Best Written Word from Miracle Makers Film, Hollywood Dreams Film, and International Author Boss Award from Power Conversations magazine. Her published works also include the 6 federal individual education plan goals and the effectiveness of their implementation in preparing for transition. Mm. Dr. Dawn Menge has a PhD in education. She specializes in curriculum and instruction. She also holds a master's and a clear credential, in moderate and severe disabilities and a bachelor's degree in human development. She is well educated, y'all. Dr. Dawn Menge has been teaching students with severe cognitive delays for over 20 years and mentors and lectures graduate students. Dr. Dawn Menge is the mother of 3 and the grandmother of 6 beautiful grandchildren. That is awesome. So I'm just going to bring her to the stage right now. Dr. Dawn, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for coming back to Hot Topics. Thank you for getting back on the hot seat. I'm glad I didn't scare you away. And yeah, so let's get right to it. So you're going to read another one of your books out loud. Can you give us like who's the intended audience for that book?
This is pre-K, first grade. It's days of the weeks, months of the year, seasons. It's a basic calendar skills. And it's actually the format for all of my books. I have 13 in the series, and it's won 70 international awards. And it's based on When I first wrote it, it was an assignment in my credentialing class, and my students were in the book. And so we took it around and we traveled around with it. And then I decided to publish it, and I named it after my grandmother. Her name was Vernita. She was an astute businesswoman. And then everyone in the book is a member of my family. This is my dad, and this is my nephew. And it was the only book that I was actually going to publish, but I won an award. I won the Evie Award, first place, within like the first month or so, and started getting interviews, and they were asking me, what's your next book? And so we decided that the Queen was going to travel around her kingdom and just talk about where she's been and the people that she's met and all of the adventures that she had. All of my books are based on my real life, my real adventures. My friends, my family, my students are in my books. So it helps add to when the child is reading it, that they know that these are real adventures and things that they can do in their life. So this is Queen Vernita's Visitors. Vernita was the queen of the majestic world called Oceaneer. She lived in a beautiful castle that was covered in ivy and red roses. Vernita loved being the queen, but she missed all of her friends from the land of quails. She hadn't seen them in such a long time. And here is the queen writing the invitations to her friends. Queen Vernita looked at her calendar to see how long it had been. She counted 1 January, 2 February, 3 March, 4 April, 5 May, 6 June, 7 July, 8 August, 9 September, 10 October, 11 November, and 12 December. It has been 1 whole year since I have seen my friends. Queen Vernita decided to invite a friend to come and visit her during each month of the year. That night, Queen Vernita wrote 12 invitations to her 12 friends. In January, she invited Debbie. Debbie stayed from January 1st to January 31st. Queen Vernita loved her visit with Debbie. On Mondays, they played Jolly Jump Rope. On Tuesdays, they played Juggling Jacks. On Wednesdays, they played Foursquare. On Thursdays, they watched marvelous movies. On Fridays, they popped pumpernickel popcorn. On Saturdays, they went for long walks around the castle. On Sundays, they stayed home and read 3 books. In February, Tommy came to visit. On Mondays, they played catch with Tommy's old worn gloves. On Tuesdays, they played school and practiced writing their ABCs in cursive. On Wednesdays, they watched movies and ate popcorn. On Thursdays, they rode on their sleds down the big hill behind the castle. On Fridays, they had a huge snowball fight. On Saturdays, they made beautiful snow angels. On Sundays, they laid by the fireplace and took long naps, snoring loudly. Tommy was a loud snorer. Tommy stayed for only 28 days because this year was not a leap year. So what month comes after February? March. In March, Dana came to visit. She stayed for all 31 days and brought her 7 favorite board games. Queen Vernita and Dana played a new one each day of the week. On Mondays, they played Monster Bash. On Tuesdays, they played Twisted Twisty. On Wednesdays, they played Wiggle Free. On Thursdays, they played Think It Through. On Fridays, they played Freeze Machine. On Saturdays, they played Sink the Ball. On Sundays, they played Sour Grapes. So what comes after March? April. In April, spring brought warmer weather and Kale with his dog Scrappers. Queen Vernita loved playing with Kale and his dog. She played with him all 30 days of April, even during the April showers. On Mondays, they played Belly Ball. On Tuesdays, they played Catch the Tail. On Wednesdays, they chased Scrappers the dog around the castle. On Thursdays, they skipped around the castle. On Fridays, they stayed inside and played the Jester's Wild card game. On Saturdays, they went into town to play miniature golf. On Sundays, they dug carrots out of the garden. Okay, so what comes after April? May. In the month of May, Jeremy came. He loved to see all of the flowers that the April showers brought. They picked flowers for all of the 31 days of May. On Mondays, they picked Mary Marigolds. On Tuesdays, they picked tiny tulips. On Wednesdays, they picked wild wedding bells. On Thursdays, they picked thorny thistles. On Fridays, they picked the freshest Jeremy had ever seen. On Saturdays, they picked sunny sunflowers. On Sundays, they picked shiny shelf flowers. Jeremy had so many flowers, he could hardly get them all home. So what comes after May? June. June was the beginning of summer, and that's when Wesley came to visit the land of ocean air. Queen Vernita and Wesley had a great time playing in the summer sun. On Mondays, they climbed the big pine tree outside. On Tuesdays, they went for a drive in the countryside. On Wednesdays, they painted pictures about their favorite activity of the week. On Thursdays, they slept outside and gazed at the stars. On Fridays, they went cosmic bowling. On Saturdays, they went to listen to music at the park. On Sundays, they enjoyed yummy ice cream sundaes. Queen Vernita and Wesley thought that all 30 days of June were enchanting. So what comes after June? July. When July came, so did Ashley. They decided to explore the beautiful white sands of the Oceaneers Beach. The girls had a wonderful time playing on the beach. On Mondays, they built enormous sandcastles. On Tuesdays, they played frisbee in the waves. On Wednesdays, they boogie boarded. On Thursdays, they walked on the pier. On Fridays, they ate fried fish tacos. On Saturdays, they collected sticky starfish. On Sundays, they just lay in the sun and got a suntan. Queen Vernita and Ashley had 31 glorious days of July to spend lounging at the Oceaneers Beach. So what comes after July? August. Queen Vernita was sad to see Ashley go. Then came August, and Hannah came to visit. August is a very hot time in the land of Oceaneers, so they decided to go to the mountains and go camping for the 31 hot days of August. They had so much fun exploring the mountains. On Mondays, they went hiking. On Tuesdays, they fished in the stream. On Wednesdays, they slept outside of their tents so they could count all of the stars. On Thursdays, they went for a walk on the nature trail. On Fridays, they collected pine cones. Saturday nights, they made a campfire and cooked s'mores. They were so gooey and yummy, made of marshmallows, graham crackers, and chocolate. On Sundays, they sat and listened to the sounds of the forest. I love camping in the forests of Oceaneers. I can't wait to come back next year, said Hannah. I'm having a great time, too. I will count all 12 months until we can do this again, Queen Vernita. So what comes after August? September. As the season of summer left, fall came. Along with the changing of the leaves' colors came Virginia. September is apple picking time. For the whole 30 days, they picked apples and made delicious smelling food for all the village people. On Mondays, they made apple pie. On Tuesdays, they made apple tarts. On Wednesdays, they ate applesauce. On Thursdays, they ate the apples right off of the trees. On Fridays, they made apple fritters. On Saturdays, they made baked apples. On Sundays, they made cinnamon apple cakes. On the 30th day of September, the whole village gathered to say goodbye to Virginia. We will miss your wonderful apple desserts. We will count all 12 months until you return, they chanted. So after September is October. In October, the days became shorter and all the leaves had changed colors. They were bright orange, yellow, red, brown, and purple. Mike brought with him a big bag. I want to pick pumpkins, make pumpkin pie, pumpkin seeds, and jack-o'-lanterns, and collect lots of beautiful leaves. That sounds great, Mike, Queen Vernita said, so they did just that. On Mondays, they picked pumpkins. On Tuesdays, they made pumpkin pies. On Wednesdays, they made pumpkin seeds. On Thursdays, they made jack-o'-lanterns. On Fridays, they collected orange and red leaves. On Saturdays, they collected yellow and brown leaves. On Sundays, they collected purple leaves. At the end of the 31 days of October, Mike gathered all of his fall collections to take back to his family. I will see you again in 1 year, Queen Vernita. That is 12 short months away. So after October is November. In November, the village of Oceaneers celebrates turkeys. For the whole 30 days, they eat nothing but turkey meals for dinner. Nicole was so excited. This was her month to visit Queen Vernita, and she loved turkey. So on Mondays, they ate turkey pot pies. On Tuesdays, they ate turkey with mashed potatoes. On Wednesdays, they ate hot turkey sandwiches. On Thursdays, they ate turkey with cranberries. On Fridays, they ate cold turkey sandwiches. On Saturdays, they ate turkey soup. On Sundays, they ate a big feast for the entire village. Everyone brought their favorite turkey dish. So what is the last month of the year? December. December was the last month of the year and the beginning of the season of winter. Tyler Ann was Queen Vernita's last visitor of the year. She stayed for all 31 days of December. They did lots of fun things during their visit. On Monday, they raked all of her leaves. On Tuesdays, they sat by the fireplace. Queen Vernita and Tyler Ann looked out the big picture window and watched the falling snow. On Wednesdays, they strung popcorn on string for the birds. On Thursdays, they made crunchy caramel cookies. On Fridays, they went to see all of the sparkling Christmas lights. On Saturdays, they wrapped Christmas presents with big, bright bows. On Sundays, they sang cheery Christmas carols. Tyler Ann stayed until the end of the year. On January 1st, she wished Queen Vernita a happy new year and packed her bags. As Queen Vernita watched Tyler Ann drive away from her beautiful castle, she could see in the distance that her wonderful friend Debbie was on her way for her month-long visit. I am so glad that I have 12 such great friends to come and visit me on each of the 12 months of the year, said Queen Vernita as she walked up to greet Debbie. And that is the end of the first adventure for Queen Vernita.
Awesome. That was amazing and very informative and colorful. Colorful. Thank you so much for that. So obviously the book is about the seasons, the months of the year. Can you tell us more about your intention for this book?
Well, it teaches the calendar skills, and it also has different activities in it. So it talks about being active outside, reading, making friends, being a family. And so it kind of encourages the children to do all sorts of kind of different activities during this year.
So I like how you when you're talking about the seasons, you're also putting the appropriate activities for the time of year, right? So for November, we all eat together and the leaves are falling. It's not like you're doing it for August, like you're actually
Right.
saying
Yeah.
like August is hot. These are the things that we do.
So we go camping when it's hot, and we watch the stars. And where's my phone? Oh, and something, I have a friend who uses my books. He teaches refugees that come over. He lives in Washington, and he uses them. And he actually he had a student who was here, and let me see if I can find him. And he they used this book, and he was from the savannah in Africa, and he used the November, which is why I was bringing it up. And he learned how to count by, hold on. He learned how to count by counting the November book month, and because it reminded him of home and when he was with his family and a big feast. And so he really connected to what was going on in the story. He learned how to count, and he learned how to read by reading the book. So I thought that was really nice.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So a refugee learns, so it's a lesson in maybe is ESL.
Yes.
You're learning English, you're learning, and especially coming from another country, the seasons are different, depending on which country you're from. So you're learning, the American seasons, the American calendar. You're learning the four different seasons, what happens during each season. So it's more than an educational thing. It's also not thing, but it's not what am I trying to say? It's more than just an educational tool, but it's also a cultural learning tool.
Yeah, yes, and it connects families and friends. And I found what he sent me, and if it's okay if I read it, because I thought it was just really special. But
Yeah, go ahead.
he said, "My student that I started teaching English to about 7 years ago spoke with me today. He now has a daughter who is turning 5 years young, and he is reading everything that he can get his hands on. He just loves to read. Your book started a love of reading for this young man. This is the immigrant African native man who was born under a tree on the savannah in Central Africa. He had never written anything in his life before I met him. No letters or numbers. He did not know the alphabet or how to count anything. Now he is able to read the newspaper with ease, and he is able to manage his numbers well enough to budget his finances in his home. For mathematics, we started by counting the guests eating at the holiday dinner in your visitor's book. My student found that particular illustration was one that he could relate to, having a meal with a large family. I gave him a copy of the Queen Vernita's Volcanic Islands to give to his daughter for her birthday, and he really lit up. He is so happy to receive her fine book. You have an amazing impact on this young man's life, and now the life of his child. His little girl will be entering school next year, being able to read fairly well, thanks to you. She loves to read and teach her father new words. They learn to read together. Thank you for all that you continue to do with your books, Dawn. You rock." But it's just, it's teaching generations of families how to read, and they're coming from Africa. And he has another one that uses my books too, that he was telling me about. What he does is he teaches the immigrants who come over, and he works actually in a factory. And so he teaches them how to work in the factory, and he teaches them how to read and write English and math so that they can function in our society. And so he says, your books are perfect for what I do with my learners. As of today, another adult ESL person will be reading your visitor's book to her grandchildren for the first time. Grandmother needs to learn how to read in English. She has been here for about 10 years. My friend, her daughter, gave your book to her mother and told her to look at the pictures in the book and read the words that are associated with the picture. We hope that this approach is reading is successful. That is the method that I have been using when I teach learners to read via your books.
That's amazing. So it sounds like your books are impacting people all over the world.
Yes. Yes. I went to a book festival in Tucson when I first started writing. I think I only had about 3 or 4 books out. And it's this huge festival they have on the university campus. And a lady came over, and she was going to Ghana, Africa to build a library. And so she bought a couple books, and then I donated some. And I asked her to send me pictures, not really thinking that, she would be able to do that. But I did. She sent me pictures of the children at the library checking out, my books in Africa. And it was like so amazing. And the one that I have the picture of was this one. And this is actually, my brother's an astronomer at JPL, and I wrote this book. He wrote it with me. And this is him. He wanted to be the nutty professor with the wild hair. Let me see if I can find, with the wild hair and the bunny slippers. And so every month is a new planet, and there's 7 facts about the planet. So it keeps the same format. So the repetition is good for ESL learners or learners who have learning disabilities, and also like autism and things of that nature. The repetition is really good. And I also include disabilities. Now, this is the son of one of my friends, and he has cerebral palsy. And so he's learning all about astronomy, but he has a disability, and we talk a little bit about the disability. And so in my books, I've included children with disabilities, and they're living their lives, which I really like to focus on, is that they're living their lives and they have a disability. So we talk a little bit about the disability, but mostly we talk about, that they're just children, and they're learning, and they're having fun, and they're camping. And this little boy actually was one of my students, and he has Down syndrome. So he's having a picnic with the queen, and they're learning about the planet, and they learn 7 facts, but there's a little bit of information about Down syndrome. But mostly it's that he's outside, he's having a picnic with the queen, and he's having a wonderful time. And so we like to emphasize that.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So it just occurred to me, do all of your books have the queen in it?
Yeah, they're all the queen's, they're all her adventures. She's traveling around her kingdom and learning all about her kingdom. So this is one I wrote. I have a friend I grew up with, and he moved to Kona, Hawaii. His wife grew up there. And so I spent a lot of time going there and visiting. So I actually wrote 2 books about them. The first one is this one. And he is Sea Captain Jeff, and she is Enchantress Carrie. And there's dolphins, but it has all the same format. Each month is a different friend and a different subject. It has 7 facts about it. This one is 4th and 5th grade. This is actually something that happened when I went with my children. My son-in-law was looking in the ocean, and he was taking a picture of an eel. Well, I guess the eel didn't like it very much. So it reached up and grabbed his camera out of his hand and pulled it into the water. And if you look on my Facebook, I have albums for each book, and it has the pictures of the eel. My daughter actually got pictures of the eel coming up, taking the camera and taking it back into the water, and he got it back. So in the book, I made it so that she's drawing, and then the eel reaches up and takes her pencil. So all of the things that happen in my book have happened in my actual life. And this, of course, we're leaving, and they're giving us lays. And this is Enchantress Carrie and Queen Vernita and Sea Captain Jeff. And so there's all sorts of, we went swimming in the lava tubes, and that's in here. And it's just about adventure and having fun, and you're learning about the animals and some culture.
So it's a lot packed into one, it sounds like.
Yeah. And then this one is the other one. It's on volcanic islands. And this is one of the ones that I actually entered into the Conquering Disabilities with Film Festival, because it has disabilities. And it won the Special Recognition Champion Award. My series did, the whole series. And I got a film award. It's someplace I went in July, and they actually played all of my book trailers on the big screen. I took my daughter and my granddaughter to Kona one summer for my daughter's birthday. And I was sitting in a little bit of the lava in the water, and my granddaughter and I were playing mermaids. So in the book, we're playing mermaids, and it just talks about mermaids. It's 7 facts about mermaids. And so all of the things that I've done, these are actual pictures that my illustrator makes, turns into my illustrations. And it has the green sand beach. This is Ireland and Heather. Ireland has Rett syndrome. And so her mom, Heather, is helping her make the flower lace for her classmates. So the queen is there, and she's explaining what Rett syndrome is and why she has to help Ireland make the lays. And that gives you just a little bit of information about Rett syndrome. But in the story, she's going to school. She has friends. She's making these beautiful lays. And so she's having this really nice life, even though she has a disability, and it's causing her, making it hard for her to make the lays, to lace them. So it's explaining why mom's helping her. And then this one is this. We went in a shark cage. I actually won a trip from Stater Brothers one year, and we flew over to Oahu, and I took all of my kids. At that point, I only had one granddaughter. And we went over to the North Shore and went into a shark cage. And it was really exciting. I went in with the boys that we had, my son-in-laws and my son first. And so my daughter was on the top of the boat. And so she was, giving them the fish, bringing the sharks around, and they were jumping out of the water. And we just saw them swimming around us. And so it was really fascinating. And we were not in any danger. But she saw them jumping up and taking the meat. And so she wouldn't get in the shark cage after that. So I think if I had seen that first, I might not have gotten in the cage. But at that point, it was just really fascinating to have all these sharks. And we kind of touched them a little bit. But this page, this is my student. He was my student, Connor, and his dad. And they're at the Volcanic National Park. So Connor has autism and he's nonverbal. So he uses a communication device. So in here, he's talking to the queen with his communication device and teaching her about autism and his device and why he has to use it. But he's also learning about the Volcanic National Park. So a child who's reading this book, they're learning about all of the things that are in Hawaii, the pink sand beach, the black sand beach, and why they're different colors. And he's learning about volcanoes. But then they're also learning about Connor, who has autism. But Connor's at the Volcanic National Park. He's not at home, not having a life. He's living a full life. And so that's what I really, really emphasize in my books for the disabilities.
Awesome. All right. So let's bring it back to Queen Vernita's visitors. So obviously you incorporate your life experiences into these books. So tell us about the life experience that you use for Queen Vernita's visitors.
Well, Queen Vernita's visitors is just the first one, but the whole series is all of her adventures. I went to New Orleans, and this one is a 5th and 6th grade. It talks about slavery, the Underground Railroad, the Mardi Gras. And one of the things that I did when I was there, I love New Orleans. We went into the bayou and we went on a jet boat. Actually, we did it twice. And it was raining and thundering and lightning. And we had to actually hide under a moss-covered tree and wait for the lightning to pass. That was kind of exciting. But then he took the jet boat and stopped on a mound of grass. And he starts making this weird noise. And he jumps out. This is the guide. And he's holding this fish, and all of a sudden we see these huge eyes coming up out of the water. And there's all of these alligators within like 5 feet of me, and they were huge. And so he's feeding them just out on this grass mound. And so he comes over and he takes out of an ice chest a baby alligator and hands it to us. And so we're holding it, and it was really neat. I was petting his stomach, and he was perfectly fine. But when I posted the picture, somebody said, "Well, they bite." I didn't think about it at the time that this alligator could actually bite me, but it was really neat. And this is one of the happiest experiences that I've had. And I love New Orleans. I love the music and the culture there. And so this whole book, and it's hard to see, it has a lot more information in it. And it does talk about plantations and slavery and things. So it's a more mature content, but that was a really fun trip that I had.
Awesome. All right. So just going to bring it back to the book again. So the book in question, we focus on the months of the year, I think the days of the week, and the seasons. So obviously this book was intended for 1st and 2nd graders and even ESL learners.
Yes. Preschoolers.
Preschoolers. So what's the importance of teaching those skills at such a young age?
Well, then they have a concept of time. And of course, we need to know the days of the week and the months of the years. And it teaches activities. And when you're doing this, reading this to a class, you're asking a lot of questions. Have you ever played, there's board games in there. Do you guys play board games? What board games do you play? There's a lot of conversational cues inside of the book for your class to use while you're doing it. You can even actually do some of the activities in here. Popping popcorn, jogging or skipping around, all sorts of things, reading 3 books. So these are all things that everybody can do. You can talk about camping. Camping in the stars, you count the stars. When I read it to a class, we stop, we all count the stars, we count the frogs, we count the fish, and of course the people. We talk about what they're doing. Have you ever gone camping? What was it like? Do you remember where you went? So there's a lot of conversation that can be built from the actual book itself. Of course, the apple picking. Have you ever been apple picking? Have you ever made anything out of apples, which is a lot of things that kindergarten classes do. And so, of course, we're talking about this seasonal. Yeah, this is the time to pick apples, and then October. And then you'll ask, like I was doing when I was reading it, well, what month comes next? And then they tell you, so that they learn the months of the years. And then pumpkins, of course, what happens in October? Of course, we have Halloween. And then we talk about the pumpkins. Have you ever gone to a pumpkin patch and picked a pumpkin? What do you do with the pumpkin when you carve the pumpkin? Do you cook the seeds? Do you eat the seeds? There's a lot of conversation that's going on within the book. So
basically the book is also used as a conversational tool.
yes. All of the books are actually, if you're talking about the sharks, you can stop on that page. And the higher books, they're catalysts for further learning. Like say someone's reading a volcanic book and they like the sharks. So they'll go look up the sharks and find out different kinds of sharks, where the sharks live. They could write a report on the sharks if they wanted to. They're catalysts for different information, further information. I did an interview with someone I think they were from Philadelphia, and he was talking to his friend about interviewing me. And she actually had been checking my books out in the library. And so her and her son had been reading the stories, and she actually got a second job so that she could take her son out traveling like the Queen does in her books. And that was impactful to me because I didn't know my books were in the library in Philadelphia. Oh, I think it was. I don't remember now exactly which city it was, but that it had an impact on this family. And then they were out, doing things.
So it sounds like you inspired a spirit of adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it was really nice. I had a speech therapist who actually came from Africa, and I gave her a set of my books, and her family members were teachers in Africa. And so she passed out the books, and they were sending me videos. I have a video of a little girl. It's like one of my favorite videos. She's in, I can't tell you exactly where she is in Africa. It's on my Facebook where she is, but I don't know. But she was reading, I wrote one on Alaska. So she was standing in front of her class reading my Alaska book on her birthday, and her teacher videotaped her and sent it to me. And, that is like one of my favorite videos, to see that.
What about that video was so special to you?
That this child, one, was reading my book to the class in Africa. Like when I started writing my books, I never thought that would happen. That was not something that I had imagined. And, they're being read in Jamaica and India and all sorts of places that I never thought my books would reach, because they're about my family. This one I just wrote over the pandemic. I wrote 6 books. I got 6 published. And this one is pre-K to first grade. And it's based on a train ride that we took from Williams, Arizona to the Grand Canyon. And then we went on the Polar Express. And so this is actually my grandson who fell asleep in Santa's lap. And it talks about the train ride, and it has bandits. This is my granddaughter, and it talks about the trees that are on the way that we see. And we have music, and then we have a bandit. This is actually a bandit that came up on the train, and this is a picture of my grandsons. He was holding them up. And then at the end, of course, we have Santa Claus, and we're writing letters to Santa Claus and helping Santa wrap presents. And it's a really fun book for Christmas time, obviously. But this is my actual family. Like this is us. We were on the trip. And to know that my books are being read all over the world about, things that my family did. And it's impacting, ESL learners and generations of families who are learning to read all over the world. It's, it's honoring, and it's humbling.
Definitely. And I think that all of these lessons that you teach in your books, it's something that can be applicable to anywhere in the world.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they don't know, where the Grand Canyon is or Hawaii is, but now they're going to learn something about it. And they can, if they live by the beach anywhere in the world, they're going to see the same kinds of animals, and they're going to understand, the sea turtles and all of that. So they can connect it to their actual life. I have one, I don't have it with me, but I have one I just did. We go camping every year. We just actually went last week, and it's the Central Coast of California, and it's kite flying. It's pre-K to first grade again, but it talks about camping, sleeping under the stars, making s'mores, flying kites, body surfing. There's an ostrich farm up there, so it talks about ostriches and emus and raccoons. And so a child can read that and get, or a parent, oh, let's go camping. We can go camping on the beach and do exactly what the queen is doing with her friends. And so it kind of is a catalyst to get out there and have some adventure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that spirit of adventure that we talked about, it's a theme in all of your books, it sounds
Yes,
like.
yes.
That's it's educational, and it's fun too, and it's inspiring. So, I'd love to keep going, but we gotta start to wind things down. So, do you have any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience? Any advice, any tips that you'd like to share?
Well, if you want to be a children's author, my suggestion one is to write and get it out there, and to join the SCBWI, the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. That's one of the best things that I ever did for myself. You learn a lot from them. You go to their workshops. They have a summer conference and a summer conference in LA and a winter conference in New York City. I've been to both. I learned a lot, and you sit next to a table with New York Times bestselling authors, Newbery Award winners, or people that haven't published their books yet, or people who just got their first traditionally published book out. And everyone is really nice, and they're supportive, and they're out there to help you. And that's the best thing to do.
Awesome. So, I never would have thought I would get advice about starting a children's book. So that's awesome, and I hope you guys are listening. So, where's my camera? All right, so let me put up your banner. All right, you guys, Dr. Dawn Menge is all over social media. You could check her out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So definitely follow her, um, like her page, definitely stay in touch with her and her writing journey. And she also has a website if you would like more information about her books. It is www.drdawnmenge.com. And Dr. Menge, can you remind our viewers where they can get your books?
I have a publisher, Rushmore Press, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any place online. You can either put in my name or my books, Queen Vernita's, and they'll come up. They do go from pre-K to sixth and seventh grade. I just got a brand new one out on Tucson, Arizona, and it's sixth and seventh grade, so it's really higher than the other ones. So if you're not quite sure what's a good fit for your child and the reading level, just you can send me a message, and I'll let you know which ones are the best.
There you go. There you go. So if you, okay, yes. So there you have it. So if you're not sure which is the appropriate level for your child, just because your child is in sixth grade doesn't necessarily mean they comprehend sixth grade content. So if you're looking for the best book for your child, definitely hit up Dr. Menge. Again, she is on social media. I encourage you to check her out. And you can also find her on the web, www.drdawnmenge.com. All of that information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen, and I encourage you to reach out.
Well, thank you
Uh,
so much.
Yeah, Dr. Menge, thank you so much for joining us today.
All right. Well, I loved being part of your series, and I see you've been doing a lot of other interesting interviews. And so I wish you luck and keep going out there and getting information out to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yes, so Dr. Dawn Menge has a series on our hot topics, and she has a special playlist that I made for her. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you could check that out. All right, Dr. Mensch, thank you so much for joining me today. And I will place you backstage. All right, I think I did a lot of talking today, so my voice is usually going. All right, let's get up my banner and let's do this. All right, so we have reached the conclusion of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, whether you are watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, eventually Instagram, um, or any other platform, wherever you are watching this episode right now, I encourage you to check out that platform for other videos and clips. And don't forget to follow us. So you may have to follow us, like us, subscribe to us, whatever the button is. I want you to press that button. Press that button right now. And while you're at it, let us know what you thought about this episode by leaving a comment in the comment section below or in the comment thread. And as a reminder, this web series is a production of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So if you would like to learn more about our company, what we're about, what we have to offer, our services, if you're looking for a tutor for yourself or for your child, please hit us up. We are all over social media, so check us out and send us a message. You could also check out our website. It is scrolling below in the scrolling marquee, but I will also say it out loud. It is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. And I also encourage you to sign in our texting list. You will get exclusive access to our promotions, our discounts, and our special events when you sign up for those things, the email list or the texting list or both. So definitely sign up for those. That information is also scrolling below in the marquee. And for those of you watching this on Facebook, you will also see that information in the description. All right, so I'm just going to share this final message before we close.
Hey there, have you heard of us? We're a small team of tutors here at A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We believe that education and information should be accessible to everyone, regardless of income, race, or creed. We're dedicated to making this happen, but we need your help. Please consider making a donation to our company. No amount is too small. Your donation will allow us tutors to remain employed, offer free and low-cost services, put on productions like this web series, and reach out to families nationwide. With your help, we can tackle the academic challenges of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. As a bonus, we can improve our communities in the process. Support us today. Note: we're a for-profit company. We're not a charity. Your donation may not be tax deductible. Please consult a tax professional.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining this episode. I, Gabrielle, look forward to seeing you at the next episode. So now I am signing off.